And now I'd like to introduce the Children Libya Aid Foundation Secretary, Imad Kalouche, who has recently returned from Tunisia and Libya. He will be sharing his experiences at the Tunisian hospital Clinique Les Bourgeois du Lac, or Difat al-Bahira, and his encounters with injured children in Libya.
On behalf of the board members of the class, I'd like to thank you all for your participation in tonight's event. Given the number of recent fundraising activities and protests, I'm sure many of you are experiencing charity fatigue, so I'd like to thank you beforehand for your continued patience and support. As you're all aware, in February of this year, the youth of Libya, riding high on the light on the wave of the Arab Spring, took to the streets of Benghazi, Tripoli, and Raqqa, and virtually every city these calls for change were met with bullets and brutal suppression. Fast forward 100 days and we find Libya embroiled in a bloody and unforgiving war. As with any major conflict, innocent civilians have bore the brunt of the deaths and injuries. 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to witness firsthand the effects the war has had on the people of Libya. I started my trip in Tunis, a refuge for hundreds of thousands of Libyans who fled their homes. Visiting local hospitals and clinics, I really didn't know what to expect or how to find the victims of the conflict. As I walked into the Bourgeois Law clinic, I asked a Tunisian nurse, "Where are the Libyan patients?" She smiled and replied, "Look around." Sure enough, virtually every room of every floor was occupied with victims of the conflict. The injuries ranged from bullet wounds and minor burns to amputations and paralysis. As I made my way through the ward, one thing that became apparent was that bullets do not discriminate. The clinicians have been treating patients young and old alike. While it's a shame for anyone to suffer a loss of a limb or severe trauma, it's especially painful to witness children with horrific injuries robbed of their youth. Given its vast oil wealth and relatively small population, you may be asking yourselves, why are these patients being treated in neighboring countries? Why not in Benghazi or other safe havens far from the front lines? The sad truth is that even prior to the conflict, the healthcare system in Libya was in a poor and dilapidated state, relying heavily on foreign workers. The fighting and subsequent exodus of foreign doctors and nurses exacerbated the situation to the point of near collapse. I saw firsthand the plight of healthcare workers in the city of Sintan. Tucked away in the western mountain region, the main hospital of Sintan provides much-needed relief to the region. As we approached the entrance of the hospital, it was apparent that it too did not escape the conflict unscathed. Walls riddled with bullets and rocket fire only began to tell the story. Both ambulances were targeted and rendered inoperable. While the main hospital at Sintan was never capable of handling trauma cases, they could always rely on their close proximity to Tripoli for serious cases. Obviously, given the nature of the conflict, Tripoli is no longer an option. Instead, patients are rushed across the border to Tunisia for both immediate and long-term care. In addition to those injured and maimed as a direct result of the conflict, a large number have suffered from its collateral effects. Limited mobility and reduced access to healthcare systems have turned routine procedures into potentially life-threatening situations. One such case is the story of 7-year-old Wafa al-Harish. As an infant, Wafa contracted cirrhosis and as a result suffered liver failure. Within a few weeks, she was flown to Geneva for a liver transplant. While the operation was a success and saved her life, Wafa requires costly annual treatment to prevent her immune system from rejecting the new organ. Until recently, the Harishis relied on government-subsidized healthcare to pay for the ongoing treatment. As the situation in Libya deteriorated, their lifeline was abruptly cut off. Months overdue and with no end in sight of the conflict, Wafat's family made the long trek from Sebha, Libya to Tunisia in search of an alternative. Now, I'd like to note one thing, that prior to my arrival in Tunis, I never knew the al-Quraishis family nor sought them out. They found me. Through word of mouth, they learned of FLAF and its efforts to help treat Libyan children.
Can you help me a little bit? I'll be back.
Do everything possible to save their only child. Since then, we've received numerous other pleas and petitions via email and phone, which further underscore the need for organizations like FLAF. On a brighter note, a new sense of optimism and duty has sprung up among the youth of Libya. Not content to be passive observers, young Libyans have taken the lead in helping to forge a new Libya. Whether it's performing volunteer work at refugee camps or organizing fundraisers such as tonight's event, the youth are making their voices heard. Of my entire trip, one instance of youth making a difference sticks out. As we drove through the city of Zintan, we happened upon a group of children sweeping the city streets. We pulled over and were told that in lieu of the stoppage of city services, these kids had volunteered to keep the streets clean. Now, this may not sound like a big deal. However, any Libyan mother can attest to the unruly nature of Libyan kids and the difficulty in getting them to clean even their own rooms, let alone public streets. That they did so without being bribed or forced is simply amazing. Moreover, after they finished washing our car and changing our oil, they didn't even ask for a tip. So, that was a joke. No, and in all seriousness, we did give them a tip, so stay in school. Thank you.